The sound of laughter drifted through the sliding glass door. Not the warm kind that makes you want to join in, but the sharp, mocking kind that tells you you're the punchline. I stood in the kitchen of what used to be my house, staring down at the paper plate in my hands. On it sat a microwaved hot dog and a handful of potato chips. Through the window, I could see my son Trevor, his wife Amber, and their friends seated around my patio table, working their way through racks of ribs, grilled corn, and all the fixings of a proper Father's Day barbecue. "Dad," Trevor's voice cut through my thoughts. "Can you bring out more ice and grab another case of beer from the garage fridge while you're at it?" "Not please. Not when you get a chance. Just orders, like I was staff." I'd been getting a lot of those lately. I'm Richard Castellano, 65 years old, retired electrical engineer. For 40 years, I designed power systems for commercial buildings across the Southwest. I was good at my job, good at providing for my family. After my wife Alina passed from cancer 8 years ago, I threw myself into work even harder, partly to cope, partly to make sure Trevor would be set up when the time came. We'd always been close, or so I thought. He was my only child, and after losing Alina, he was all I had left. The trouble started about 14 months ago. Trevor showed up at my door in Phoenix on a Tuesday afternoon, Amber beside him, both looking stressed. His tech startup had folded, he explained. They'd burned through their savings, trying to keep it alive. They'd lost their apartment in Scottsdale. Could they stay with me, just for a few weeks until they got back on their feet? What was I supposed to say? He was my son. Of course, I said yes. That was my first mistake. The few weeks turned into months. Trevor's job search seemed to consist mainly of networking lunches that I somehow ended up paying for. Amber started redecorating, replacing my furniture with pieces she claimed were more modern. When I objected, Trevor pulled me aside. "Dad, come on. You've been living like it's still 1995. Amber's just trying to help. Besides, we need to make the house presentable if we're going to be living here." Living here, not staying temporarily living. I let it slide. After all, I told myself, family helps family. That's what Alina would have wanted. Then came the financial arrangements. Trevor said it would be easier if I added him to my checking account, just so he could help manage bills while I was still adjusting to retirement. I'd been having some dizzy spells. Nothing serious, but Trevor made a big deal about it. What if something happens to you and we can't access anything? We need to be practical, Dad. Against my better judgment, I agreed. That was mistake number 2. Over the next few months, the dynamic shifted in ways so subtle, I didn't see it happening until it was too late. Amber started referring to the house as ours. They took over the master bedroom because it had the better bathroom. I moved into the smaller guest room. They invited friends over without asking me. Trevor began making decisions about the house, about my schedule, about my life without consultation. "We're having people over Saturday," Amber would announce. "You might want to make yourself scarce. Go see a movie or something." When I pushed back, Trevor would sigh. "Dad, you're being difficult. We're trying to rebuild our lives here. Can't you be a little more flexible? After all, we're the ones taking care of you now, taking care of me. I was the one paying for everything. But somehow, in the twisted logic that had taken over my own home, I'd become the burden. The bank statement started arriving with shocking numbers. 5,000 here, 3,000 there. When I confronted Trevor, he had explanations. Necessary home repairs. His networking expenses were actually investments in our future. The furniture Amber bought was an asset. Every time I questioned it, he'd turn it around. "You want me to succeed, don't you? You want us to get back on our feet so we can move out. This is what it takes, Dad. I thought you'd understand being a businessman yourself." I wasn't a businessman. I was an engineer. But I was also a father who wanted to believe his son. Then came this Father's Day. I woke up that Sunday morning actually feeling optimistic. Maybe today would be different. Maybe Trevor would remember what day it was. Show a little appreciation. I'd raised him alone for the last 8 years of his life. Surely that counted for something. I heard activity in the backyard around Hunfy-Hodred. When I went to investigate, I found Trevor and Amber setting up for a party. The good patio furniture was out. My expensive grill was fired up. "Oh, Dad," Amber said when she saw me. "This is actually perfect timing. We're having some friends over for a barbecue. Very important people networking for Trevor. We need you to kind of stay in the background today. Maybe stick to the kitchen. You can help prep food and wash dishes. I stared at her. It's Father's Day. She blinked, then glanced at Trevor, who was arranging chairs. Right. And we're celebrating by hosting. You like when the house is full of life, don't you? Just trust us on this, okay? These connections could really pay off for Trevor. Something cold settled in my chest, but I swallowed it down. What about lunch? Oh, there'll be plenty of food, Amber said cheerfully. We've got a hot dog in the fridge you can microwave. The good stuff is for the guests. First impressions matter in business, you know. That's how I ended up standing in my own kitchen on Father's Day, holding a paper plate with a microwaved hot dog, watching through the window as my son and daughter-in-law entertained their friends with food I'd paid for in a house I'd owned for 30 years, treating me like invisible staff. I walked outside with their ice and beer. The conversation stopped when I appeared. Thanks, Richard, one of Trevor's friends said. Not Mr. Castellano, Richard, like I was the help. Dad, Trevor said, not looking at me. Amber asked you to stay inside, it's my house. Trevor. Amber laughed, the sound like breaking glass. Actually, with the way the finances work, it's kind of all our house now, isn't it? She looked at their friends. Richard's been so generous letting us take over the management of things. He's getting on in years, you know. It's probably for the best. Her friends nodded sympathetically like I wasn't standing right there. Happy Father's Day to me, I said quietly. Trevor finally looked up, irritation crossing his face. Dad, don't make this a thing. Go inside, please. I went inside not because he asked, but because I suddenly needed to sit down. The dizzy spell hit harder than usual, and I grabbed the counter for support. Through the rushing in my ears, I could hear them laughing again outside. That night, after their friends left and Trevor and Amber retreated to my master bedroom, I sat in the dark of the guest room and made a decision. I needed to understand exactly how bad things had gotten. The next morning, while they were still sleeping, I drove to my bank. The branch manager, Sarah Chen, had known me for 20 years. Richard, she said, her smile fading when she saw my face. Is everything all right? I need to see my accounts. All of them. Everything since I added my son 14 months ago. What she showed me made my stomach drop. In 14 months, Trevor had withdrawn almost 230 zalozen. There were charges I didn't recognize, cash withdrawals I never made, transfers to accounts I'd never opened. Richard, Sarah said gently, I should tell you. Your son was in here 3 weeks ago. He inquired about power of attorney and what would happen to the accounts if you were declared incompetent. The room tilted. What did you tell him? That you'd have to initiate that paperwork yourself and that it would require medical documentation. He seemed frustrated. I sat there trying to process it. My son was planning to have me declared incompetent to take everything. Sarah, I said slowly, if I wanted to remove him from my accounts, could I do that? Of course. They're your accounts. You're the primary holder. Would he be notified? Not until he tried to access them. I took a breath. Do it. Remove him from everything today. Richard, are you sure? This might cause family conflict. I'm sure. While she processed the paperwork, my phone rang. Trevor, I didn't answer. A text came through. Where are you? You didn't make breakfast. I didn't respond. Sarah finished the paperwork and handed me new cards, new access codes. Everything's locked down to you only. I've also flagged your accounts for suspicious activity monitoring. If anyone tries to access them or claim any kind of authority, we'll contact you immediately. Thank you, Sarah. Driving home, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. 10 calls from Trevor, 6 from Amber. Then the text started getting nasty. Amber, where the hell are you? We need you to run errands. Trevor, Dad, this isn't funny. Come home now. Amber, you're acting like a child. We have things to do. I pulled over at a coffee shop instead of going home. I needed to think. The dizziness had passed, and for the first time in months, my head felt clear. I opened my laptop and started going through files I hadn't looked at in years. After Alina died, her brother Marcus had tried to convince me to set up a trust. I'd ignored him at the time, grief-stricken and not thinking clearly. But now I searched my email for his messages, found them, read through his advice about protecting assets, about what happens when family turns predatory. I called him. Richard. Marcus sounded surprised. It's been a while. I need help. I think I made a terrible mistake. I told him everything. The money, the house takeover, Father's Day, the bank inquiry about incompetence. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then pack a bag. Don't tell them where you're going, and call this attorney. He texted me a number. Her name is Patricia Vance. She specializes in elder law and asset protection. Tell her I referred you. Marcus, I can't just leave. Yes, you can. Right now, you need distance and you need documentation. Trust me on this. I sat in that coffee shop for another hour, then checked into a Hampton Inn on the other side of Phoenix. I didn't go home for clothes. I bought what I needed at a Target. When Trevor called again, I finally answered. Where are you? His voice was tight with anger. Out. What do you mean out? Get home now. We need to talk about this bank situation. What bank situation, Trevor? Don't play games. My card got declined at lunch. What did you do? I removed you from my accounts. They're my accounts, Trevor. Silence. Then, Dad, come home. We need to discuss this like adults. I'm not coming home right now. Where are you staying? Amber's voice now in the background. Richard, don't be ridiculous. You can't just run away. I hung up. The next morning, I met Patricia Vance in her office. She was in her 50s, sharp-eyed and direct. Marcus sent me all your financial records, she said. I've reviewed them. Mr. Castellano, are you aware your son has stolen over 200,000 from you? Hearing it said so plainly made it real. Yes. Are you aware he's been researching how to have you declared incompetent? My bank manager told me. Patricia leaned forward. Here's what's going to happen if you don't act now. Trevor will find a doctor willing to say you're experiencing cognitive decline. He'll file for conservatorship. Once he has that, he controls everything. Your house, your money, your medical decisions. You'll have no say in your own life. Can he actually do that? If he finds the right doctor and you don't fight it, yes, I've seen it happen. She opened a folder. But here's what we're going to do instead. First, we're filing for a restraining order based on financial elder abuse. Second, we're securing your property. Third, we're going to document everything, and I mean everything. Fourth, we're getting you a medical evaluation from my colleague who specializes in cognitive assessments. You're going to pass with flying colors, and that report will destroy any future incompetence claims. What about my house? All my things are there. We'll get them. But first, we need to make you untouchable legally. Over the next week, I barely slept. Patricia worked fast. The cognitive assessment came back perfect, sharper than average for my age, the doctor said. We gathered every bank statement, every text message, every email. We documented the home takeover, the financial abuse, the Father's Day incident. Patricia had me write down everything I could remember, every conversation, every red flag I'd ignored. The thing people don't understand about elder abuse, Patricia said during one of our sessions, is that it's almost always family, and the victims don't report it because they love their abusers. They make excuses, they think it'll get better. Sound familiar? It did. That's exactly what I'd done. On day 8, Patricia served Trevor and Amber with papers, restraining order, notice of financial elder abuse investigation, eviction notice from my property, and a cease and desist regarding any attempts to claim authority over my affairs. My phone exploded. Dozens of calls, voicemails ranging from apologetic to threatening. I listened to them with Patricia. Trevor. Dad, this is insane. We can work this out. Don't let some lawyer turn you against your own family. Amber, you're making a huge mistake, Richard. Trevor is your son, your only family. You're really going to throw that away over money. Trevor again. Fine. You want to play it this way. We'll see what a judge says when we show them how confused you've been lately. How you can't remember things. How you're not capable of managing your own affairs anymore. Patricia stopped the recording. That last one, that's an admission of intent to commit fraud. He just handed us ammunition. 2 weeks after Father's Day, I stood outside my house with Patricia, 2 police officers, and a locksmith. Trevor and Amber had exactly 2 hours to collect their personal belongings and vacate. Trevor opened the door, his face red. You can't do this. I said quietly. It's my house, my name on the deed. You've been served with a legal eviction notice. We'll fight this. We'll show everyone what you really are. A selfish old man who'd rather pay lawyers than help his own son. Amber appeared behind him, crying. Not real crying. I noticed the kind of crying people do when they want an audience. How can you do this? We've been taking care of you. Taking care of me. My voice came out harder than I intended. You stole over 200,000 from me. You treated me like a servant in my own home. You tried to have me declared incompetent so you could take everything. That's not taking care of someone, Amber. That's elder abuse. And it's criminal. The officers stepped forward. Sir, ma'am, you need to start packing. It took them the full 2 hours. They tried to take furniture, claiming they'd bought it. Patricia had receipts showing it came from my credit cards. They tried to take my tools from the garage. The officers stopped them. When they finally left, Trevor paused at the door. You'll regret this. No, I said, I regret the 14 months. I let you convince me I was the problem. I regret Father's Day, but this I won't regret. After they drove away, I walked through my house. It was a mess. They'd been deliberately destructive on their way out. Holes in walls, scratches on floors, broken dishes in the sink. But it was my mess now in my house, my home. I stood in the master bedroom, the one I'd given up so easily, and called Marcus. It's done, I said. How do you feel? I thought about it. Free. The legal aftermath took months. Trevor and Amber tried to fight the eviction. They tried to claim I'd gifted them the money. They tried one last time to have me evaluated for incompetence. Every attempt failed. Patricia's documentation was airtight. The cognitive assessment was definitive. The bank records spoke for themselves. The district attorney's office looked at the evidence and decided to press charges for financial elder abuse and attempted fraud. Trevor took a plea deal. No jail time, but 3 years, probation, and restitution of 70,000. All they could prove they'd spent on themselves rather than household expenses. I'd never see most of the money back, but that wasn't really the point anymore. 6 months later, I was sitting on my patio on a Saturday morning when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Mr. Castellano, a young woman's voice. This is calling from Elder Justice Coalition. Your attorney, Miss Vance, suggested we reach out. We're looking for people willing to share their stories about elder financial abuse. Would you be interested? I looked around my backyard. I'd cleaned it up, replaced what Trevor and Amber had damaged. It was mine again, but different somehow, quieter, lonelier maybe, but honest. What would that involve? I asked. Just talking about what happened, how you recognized it, how you got help. A lot of seniors don't realize what's happening to them is abuse. Hearing from someone who's been through it and come out the other side. It helps. I thought about Sarah at the bank recognizing something was wrong. Marcus pushing me to get help. Patricia fighting for me when I was too tired to fight for myself. Yes, I said. I'll do it. That led to speaking at senior centers, community groups, even a few churches. My story wasn't unique, I learned. Every audience had people who nodded, who came up afterward with tears in their eyes, telling me their own versions. Sometimes it was children, sometimes grandchildren, sometimes caregivers, always people who were supposed to love and protect them. I told them what Patricia had told me. It's not about the money. It's never really about the money. It's about power and control. And the only way to stop it is to recognize it for what it is and get help. I told them about the warning signs I'd missed. The isolation, the gradual takeover of Decision M, the financial control, the way Trevor had made me doubt my own judgment, my own worth. The hardest part, I'd tell them, is accepting that someone you love is hurting you. We make excuses. We think if we're just more understanding, more patient, more generous, it'll get better. But abuse doesn't get better when you accept it. It escalates. One evening after a talk at a senior center in Temp, an older man approached me. He was maybe 70, distinguished looking, but his hands shook as he held out his phone. This is from my daughter, he said. Tell me if this sounds familiar. The text read, Dad, we need to talk about your finances. You're not getting any younger and someone needs to make sure you're protected. I think it's time to add me to your accounts just in case. I looked at him. What's your gut telling you? That something's not right. But she's my daughter, my only child. If you say no and she loves you, she'll understand. She'll respect your boundaries. If you say no and she gets angry, defensive, or manipulative, I let that hang in the air. He nodded slowly. Thank you. A year after Father's Day, I was doing okay. Better than okay, really. The house was fully mine again, restored and peaceful. I'd reconnected with old friends I'd lost touch with. Joined a woodworking class at the community college. Something I'd always wanted to try. Started volunteering with Elder Justice Coalition on a regular basis. Marcus visited every few months. We'd sit on the patio, drink coffee, talk about Alina and better times. He never said, "I told you so." Though he would have been justified. "You did the right thing," he'd tell me. It wasn't easy, but it was right. One Saturday afternoon, I was in the garage working on a birdhouse when my phone rang. Trevor. I hadn't heard from him in months. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering over the decline button. Then, surprising myself, I answered, "Hello, Dad." His voice was different, smaller somehow. "I am calling because my therapist suggested I should," she said. "I need to take accountability." I waited. "What I did to you was wrong. All of it. The money, the house, the way we treated you, especially Father's Day." He paused. "I've been in therapy for 6 months. Court-ordered initially, but I kept going. I'm starting to see. I'm starting to understand what I became." "Why did you do it, Trevor?" I asked. The question I'd been carrying for a year. Was it really just about money? No. I mean, yes, but not just that. When the startup failed, I felt like such a failure. Like I'd wasted all those years, all your money putting me through school. And Amber kept pushing, saying we deserved more. That you owed us for everything we'd sacrificed. It's no excuse. I know that. But I stopped seeing you as my dad and started seeing you as an obstacle, as something to manage and manipulate. And I'm so sorry. I sat down on my workbench processing this. "Are you still with Amber?" "No. She left when the legal stuff started. Last I heard, she's in California, engaged to some real estate developer." He laughed bitterly. "Pattern continuing, I guess." "What do you want from me, Trevor?" "Nothing. I don't want anything. I'm calling to say I'm sorry and that I understand if you never want to see me again. You'd be justified. I needed you to know that I know what I did. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just acknowledging the harm." We sat in silence for a moment. "I'm glad you're in therapy," I finally said. "I'm glad you're working on yourself. Does that mean it means I'm glad you're getting help?" "That's all it means right now, Trevor. What you did caused real damage to me, to our relationship, to any trust we had. That doesn't heal because of one phone call and an apology." "I understand. But I continued, if you keep doing the work, if you continue taking accountability and making real changes, maybe someday we can talk again. Really talk. Not today, not soon, but someday. I'll take that," he said quietly. "Thank you, Dad." After he hung up, I sat in the garage for a long time. I didn't feel angry anymore, which surprised me. I didn't feel forgiving either, just tired and a little sad and oddly hopeful. Not hopeful that Trevor and I would magically fix everything, but hopeful that he might actually become the person he should have been all along. That evening, I had dinner with a few friends from my woodworking class. We went to a small Mexican restaurant, laughed, told stories. Nobody tried to control me or manipulate me. Nobody made me feel small. It was just easy and genuine. Walking to my car afterward, I thought about the journey from that Father's Day to here, about the version of me who'd stood in his own kitchen, holding a microwaved hot dog, watching his son treat him like nothing. That version of me had felt powerless, diminished, like he'd somehow failed as a father. But I hadn't failed. I'd been abused. There's a difference. And recognizing that difference had saved my life. Maybe not literally, though. Who knows how far Trevor would have gone if I hadn't stopped it. But saved my sense of self, my dignity, my autonomy. I'd learned that setting boundaries isn't cruel. Walking away from people who hurt you isn't abandonment. Protecting yourself, even from family, isn't selfish. It's survival. And sometimes survival means accepting that the family you needed them to be isn't the family they chose to be. I drove home to my house. My name on the deed, my furniture, my rules, my peace.